Con nosotros son las 8:55 de la mañana, 8:55 de la mañana. Estamos acá en el Relajo de la Mañana. Saludo a la gente que se está conectando con nosotros. Ya nos estamos conectando en nuestra página de YouTube. Eso. El Relajo USA, el Relajo USA, el Relajo USA. Entre a nuestra página de YouTube, el Relajo USA, nuestra página de Facebook, el Relajo USA. También estamos en RCN, Canal 37. En Roku TV también estamos. Megavisión, dos palabritas. Busque Megavisión en RCN, Canal 37 y en Roku TV. Ahí estamos. Bueno, pues mira, en este momento tenemos dos invitadas en nuestro programa el día de hoy. Estamos súper contentos de tenerlas con nosotros. Tenemos con nosotros a representantes del Distrito Escolar de Allentown. Ustedes saben que las últimas semanas hemos hablado mucho en este programa sobre el Distrito Escolar de Allentown, su nueva superintendente, la doctora Carol Briggs, que está con nosotros, está aquí con nosotros en el estudio. Vino en vivo y está aquí con nosotros. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We are so happy to have you here today. We're so happy that you are right here with us live in the studio. So thank you for coming. And also, también tenemos con nosotros, tenemos con nosotros a una nueva integrante del Allentown School District. Recientemente fue asignada a una de las sillas de la Junta Escolar y está con nosotros la doctora Evelyn Santana con nosotros. Buenos días.
Muy buenos días.
Qué bueno que está con nosotros, qué bueno el saber que tenemos ahora tenemos a una latina en la Junta Escolar Dominicana. Ay, María, llegó el mangú. Llegó el mangú a la Junta Escolar. Qué bueno que tenemos a una representante. Antes de entrarle a la conversación, before we get started with Dr. Briggs here in the studio, I would like our community to get to know you. Now that you were recently appointed to the Allentown School Board, usted recientemente fue asignada a la Junta Escolar. Hubo una posición, una silla abierta, y a usted la nominaron y la aprobaron. Háblenos sobre eso, de que usted ahora está en la Junta Escolar.
Sí, claro, muy feliz de servir a la comunidad. Yo soy nacida en Nueva York, el padre dominicano, pero tengo básicamente la vida entera viviendo aquí en Allentown. Trabajo para Harcum College, una universidad de 2 años en Bryn Mawr, y simplemente no había tenido el tiempo, porque está muy lejos y no tenía el tiempo, estaba terminando mis estudios, y este es el tiempo perfecto para poder dar a la comunidad, y creo que es muy importante tener la representación. Háblenos
de por qué o cómo llegó usted a la Junta Escolar. ¿Cómo es que usted decide participar? ¿En qué momento usted decidió que déjame involucrarme en esto de la Junta Escolar de Allentown?
Bueno, no fue una idea nueva. Siempre tenía la idea de poder hacer algo con el distrito, con la comunidad. Como dije anteriormente, simplemente no tenía el tiempo de hacerlo, y como habían 2 sillas disponibles, dije, este es el momento para hacerlo, porque la educación para mí es muy, muy importante. Soy la más pequeña de 10 hermanos.
Wow, wait, hold on a second. 10?
Sí.
10 hermanos, y usted es la más pequeña.
La más pequeña.
Seguro, papi, el cable TV llegó hace 20 años. Seguro.
No. Wow, 10 hermanos.
Sí.
10 hermanos.
Sí.
That's awesome.
Wow, 10 hermanos y usted es la más pequeña.
La más pequeña, y soy primera generación americana, primera generación graduada de college.
Nice.
Y es muy importante para mí poder ayudar a la comunidad, especialmente a la comunidad hispana, a los latinos, también las minoridades, porque no hay suficiente estudiantes que están llegando más allá del high school.
Sí, es un problema grande que tenemos con nuestra comunidad latina, de nuestros jóvenes que no se están graduando. Sí. Y no se están graduando y tampoco están queriendo ir a la universidad. Usted es doctora ¿en qué? Porque queremos que la gente aproveche para conocerla. Doctora, ¿en qué es usted doctora?
Un doctorado en Higher Education Leadership.
Good.
Recientemente, todavía está a la tinta, creo que todavía está mojada en el
certificado de diploma.
Sí, un año tengo, sé que me gradué. Nice. Ha sido un journey bien largo. Terminé mi bachelor's degree aquí en Cedar Crest College.
A nosotros nos gustan los bachelors. Somos buenos, ahí somos buenos.
Pero le pregunto, porque aquí nosotros muchas veces hablamos de tener personas con la capacidad o la educación o la experiencia dentro de cualquier posición. En este caso estamos hablando del distrito escolar. El saber que usted estudió, que usted tiene la educación, que está preparada para abordar los temas de importancia dentro de la Junta Escolar, es sumamente importante. Y qué bueno que, primero que nada, para mí, y sobre todo, es que es una persona educada, preparada. Y segundo, para mí lo más importante, que es latina, que nos representa a nosotros, porque como lo hemos dicho un montón de veces, el distrito escolar de Allentown tiene un 76-77% latino. El saber que ahora tenemos una representación. Pero esto es una posición política. Usted eventualmente va a tener que correr para esta posición. Sóbrenos de eso. ¿Cuándo serían las próximas elecciones en donde nuestra gente tendría que votar por usted?
En mayo.
Por eso es que le estoy preguntando.
Ya yo también colecté mi firma y todo eso. Ya.
Por eso le pregunto, porque aquí tenemos una razón más para nosotros como hispanos involucrarnos, para nosotros como hispanos salir a votar. Tenemos aquí a una mujer educada, profesional, graduada, que decidió involucrarse en esto. Como había una posición vacía, fue asignada a la silla, pero ahora va a correr. Primero en las primarias de mayo y después en las elecciones generales de noviembre. Tenemos que asegurarnos que la doctora Evelyn Santana sea electa en las primarias y después elegirla en noviembre para tener representación, y ahora mismo es la única hispana, la única latina, la única bilingüe que hay. Tenemos que asegurarnos que se quede ahí, que se quede en esa silla. Vamos a invitarla después a usted para hablar más a fondo de usted, para que nuestra gente tenga la oportunidad de conocerla a usted y para que nos hable de sus intereses, de qué usted quiere hacer, qué le gustaría hacer en la Junta Escolar.
Sí, claro.
Y eso pues vamos a hacerlo porque yo creo que es válido. Yo creo que la gente se merece la oportunidad de conocerla a usted un poco más, porque es un tema importante, que es el de los niños. Claro. Pero hoy estamos compartiendo el tema, today we're sharing the time with our new superintendent, and I'm glad we're here. And I'm glad that you brought her with you, because I think it's a great opportunity for our community to know that we have someone with the qualifications, to represent us and to contribute into the Allentown School Board. So number one, Dr. Briggs, I want to thank you for taking the opportunity. In the last few weeks, we have had a lot of conversations in this radio show about the Allentown School Board and you getting the job. I don't want to get into the topic, but I just want it for the record. I want to make sure that you know, and that I tell you face to face, and I already told you this in the school board meeting, but I want to be able to tell you personally, one-on-one. Your nomination for the job was never anything, or our comments or our criticism of the Allentown School Board for you to be nominated was never, number one, personal, or number two, against you. It was about a system. It was about the way the Allentown School Board has conducted, not only now but in the past, and our criticism and our us being upset with them was in regards to the process. And I'm actually sad that you got caught up in this whole feud, right? Because again, it had nothing to do with you.
It was to clarify, more absurd. It can never be racially motivated because we're both the same color.
Yes.
So for the stupidity that came out in that meeting, and for the people that thought that way, I will call them stupid, because there's no division between black and brown.
No, and it
we're actually on the same side.
It shouldn't be. We're looking for equality. We're looking.
And I say it in English because I know they'll understand in English. So that's why I said it in English.
But again, we're all looking for the same thing.
Yes.
We are looking for a better Allentown School District. We're looking for a better educational system for our kids, and just the same thing that I told you during the Allentown School Board. The same great things they were saying about you, which I have no doubt, it's the same thing they were saying about the 5, 6, 7 other people that came through and are no longer here. And I think it's our duty, it's our responsibility to hold those elected officials accountable. I believe that it is our job and responsibility to ask questions and demand answers, because that's why they're there, right? They're elected officials. And so, again, just want to put that to bed, put that aside, that it was never personal. It was never anything against you. We have never said anything against you in this show. I said it in the meeting, and I'll say it again. I was really happy when I went to the Dominican flag raising in City Hall, and I saw you sitting there, and you sat there through the entire ceremony. Why? Because we never seen that before, right? Right? We never seen that before. We
actually thought you got lost and just showed up there.
to the wrong meeting. Like the city council meeting is Wednesday, not today. No, but again,
cool,
but those are good things, and
yes.
That happened on Sunday, and on Monday, the first thing I said was, I was surprised that I saw the superintendent there. And she was there, and she participated. And I also said, I hope that this is a new beginning of a new way of doing things. So, again, that being put aside, you are now in charge. You are now the person who's going to be running the Allentown School District. Again, welcome to Allentown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you
Now,
very
the
much.
reason I wanted you here is because I want you to be the one that tell our parents, what is it that you want to do? What are your goals? What is your plan as the new superintendent for these Allentown School District that needs a lot of help?
Sure. I want to first say thank you, Victor, and thank you, Diamond, for having me this morning. And I want to thank Dr. Santana also for joining me this morning on the show. Before I even get into that, there's a researcher, and I always cite him. His name is Dr. James Comer. He's a researcher at Yale University. And he said there's no significant learning can take place unless there's a relationship. It's all about relationships. So I'm going to tell my story, because when people can't connect with you, they don't know who you are. They're like, I don't know if I could trust you. I don't know if you're someone that I really can understand what you want to do. So I want to share a little bit about myself, if that's okay.
I want you to get a little closer to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, a little closer to the mic. Yeah.
So thank you.
Like if you're screaming at one of those kids.
Yes, see, I try not to scream though.
No.
You can just speak with authority. It doesn't have to be screaming.
There we go.
Go back to my 6th and 7th grade teaching years. Yes.
Good.
So I'm a native of Bridgeport, Connecticut. And Bridgeport is similar to Allentown in terms of size, representation of people of color. And I've spent my life, I grew up poor. My parents, neither one of them graduated from high school. My mother grew up in the rural south of Sumter, South Carolina. I don't know if anyone knows about South Carolina.
I know
here.
Paul's Island. I love
It was very rural,
Is it really?
and she grew up in poverty herself. And so, but what she did, fast forward, she met my father. She had her children. They moved to Connecticut, and my parents were separated. And so my mother struggled. She cleaned. She was a domestic worker. She ended up cleaning the houses of Jewish families. And so, but what she did instill with us, one, we had to go to church all the time. I had to go to science camp. And every time I said I was bored, guess what she said? Read a book.
Yeah.
Read a book.
Yeah.
Go do something productive. And so I'm happy that, I was fortunate that there were teachers who believed in me and a caring community who poured into my life so that I could be here now. I want to set that context to say this to you. Here I am, someone sitting here. I have a bachelor's degree. I have 3 master's degrees. And my terminal degree is from Columbia University, Teachers College. I have a doctoral degree from there. Research would suggest someone whose mother's educational attainment would never, ever have this opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you think about poverty, I'm talking real poverty. I mean, when I look around Allentown, people will say, I'm like, no, I'm talking real poverty. You know what I mean? And so, but I made it. And how did I make it here today? And because people who cared about me. Teachers, great teachers, administrators, counselors, and the community, pastors, leaders, everyone, of course, and my family spoke into my life.
Someone once said it takes a village.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And so, yes, and people spoke into my life. And so my why for being here in Allentown and my why and commitment to education is very personal. I am serious about this, Victor and Diamond.
Okay.
And I've committed my career to combating inequities for children of color and students primarily living in urban centers. I served as a teacher. I served as an assistant principal. I worked for the Department of Higher Education in Connecticut. I worked as an assistant principal. I was assistant superintendent, a chief of staff, a superintendent previous. So I've done all the jobs.
You played many roles that prepared you for this.
And I want to stop you there because I think that's very important, right? Not someone who has the smartest, right, or all the diplomas on the wall, but someone who has been in those shoes, right?
Exactly.
So when you are talking with a school teacher, you can relate because you've been there. You were a school teacher. When you talk to a principal about the needs in that particular school, you were a principal, right?
Yes.
And I think that's
It's
extremely important, right?
Yes, it is.
You can have all the diplomas you want in the wall, but if you can't relate, if you don't understand, if you don't know where the other person is coming from, then that could be a big disadvantage. So I am glad that you're bringing that up, and I'm glad that I get to know and learn that, and our audience gets to learn that you've been in those roles, and you are where you at because you climbed the ladder. You worked those different positions. So I just want to highlight that and the importance that is and represents. So
yes, and so I also worked in for-profit education. I understood that I didn't like that either because it was really about the bottom line and not the children. And
when you said for-profit
in education, I worked for a management company previously, in which we worked with schools in support of schools, but the children were not at the forefront. And I said, oh no, I got to go back to traditional public education because I went to school so I can help children and their families to move to the next phase in their their life's trajectory. So I'm also a trained executive coach. So I've coached leaders, school leaders, as well as central office leaders and private sector
Iron
leaders.
Pigs might need some help.
Yes. Right now, I'm busy with Allentown.
I'm just saying, boy.
We may use you for more than one thing.
But that is great. That is great that you
Yes.
bring that coaching also because it prepares them not only for educational but just for life purposes as well.
Exactly. And so that's why I take a strengths-based approach with my leadership because I believe that we all have unique gifts and talents and specifically here in Allentown, because this is the context we're in now, and really think about how do we maximize the strengths and the gifts of everyone to ensure that our district is successful.
Amen.
So as you know, you may have seen on our website, I developed a learning and leading plan. And I've laid out the first, it's based on 30, 60, 90 days of the work that I'm going to do as the new superintendent. I started some of this as acting superintendent, and part of it is meeting with individuals throughout the community. I visited all of our schools. I talked with teachers and students, as well as families, building close relationship with our school board of directors. Those are my bosses. Hi!
Yes. No, absolutely. Yes.
So building close relationships with the school board of directors, as well as elected officials in the community. Of course, all leaders and families. So we've had community forums. I've had one-on-one meetings with individuals, attended events. I like raising as what you know, because I want to understand what our needs are as a community, as well as I want people to have an opportunity to voice in the decision making. This year, we launched a student-based budgeting, equity-based budgeting model, in which principals were presenting their data. Who are your students? Who are your families? What are how are they performing? And what resources do we need within the district to ensure that they're successful? Now, there were some inequities going on in the district. And I'm going to call this out because I'm on this show. Now, I can see why you would be upset. Here we are as a community, 73% of our students are Hispanic. 17.9% of our students are English learners. And I would dare say we're not serving them as best as we can. Through my assessment of the district, I'm like, okay, there's some resources. I have my team now looking at best practices around the country. We should offer dual language programs. We're going to launch a Seal of Biliteracy effort initiative in which we honor the native language of individuals who come from other countries. Man, I wish I knew another language, especially Spanish, and I've been studying with my tutor.
You just got here, but give it.
So, but that is so important to honor people, their culture, their heritage, and we're going to elevate that here.
And I would dare to say that more importantly, yes, obviously understanding other cultures and languages, but that could be a big impediment on someone being able to finish high school, right? Or to finish school or to continue in school, right? If they're in a system that doesn't understand them and doesn't want to be able to find the way to
get a win for them
and help them, then they get frustrated and then they leave, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because I tell people all the time, when we I said we as a community, as a Latino community, and so on and so forth, when we ask for those resources, when we talk about English second language, when we talk about having more bilingual teachers and so on and so forth, it's more than just representation.
It's to serve the children. Yes.
You know, and of course, I'm on a Spanish radio station. I talk about my community, but we have kids from Syria. We have kids from India. We have kids for, you know, and we want to make sure that they have every tool available for them to succeed. And if the system is not there to provide, to help them with an impediment, and I hate to call them an impediment, but not being able to understanding because of a language barrier, then we shouldn't just leave them, right? We shouldn't just forget about them and say, oh, well, learn English and move, you know, because then that's when we end up with a high rate of dropouts and so on and so forth. So I'm glad that you're paying attention to those things. You know, I would like to have you here for 2 hours, but I want to make sure that you don't go without telling our parents, you know, you say you have a 30-day plan, a 90-day plan.
Yes.
Can you tell us, you know, your 2-3 top things that you are already addressing, I'm assuming, and that you want to tackle? What are your, you know, you were here as an assessing the school district. What were your top 3 things that you said, you know what, I need to get to that right away?
Well, one, we need to reimagine the district so it's structured to get better results, so that we're truly working in service to children and their families. Right now, we have a central office, and so we're reorganizing. We're going to be reimagining the central office so that people are in direct service to children. So someone now we're not able to sit on the balcony, but people are on the dance floor. So someone who is an executive director for principals, not like they don't do that already, but I want to align even our financial people, our HR people, that they're in schools and working.
You want people to work. Basically, you want them to get to work.
As we say, get off the high horse and go down and you
get
know,
dirty and let's do it.
There you go. Get down and dirty with the actual work. Yes.
And we also are focusing on early learning. We, as a district, we don't offer pre-K programming. Now, others around the community, they offer pre-K programming, but we don't. So we're going to offer a pre-K pilot programming in the summer to ensure that our early learners are starting school.
So they're prepared when they get to kindergarten.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Yes. We're also going to focus on, of course, literacy, and ensure that earlier on we're putting the mechanisms and the pedagogical methods as well as curriculum in place, because we had a curriculum audit conducted a few years back and we still haven't not implemented curriculum full scale. So we
and that could be because since that audit happened, we've had like 3 superintendents.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, again, you know, there are things that have been done but have been sitting there because of the turnover, right? And the bureaucracy and the politics and so on and so forth. So I'm glad to hear that you're looking at the things that have already been done. That all you have to do is, you know, dust it off and read it and update it and move on right away. So that's very important.
So we're going to...
I got one question, and I didn't even think about this till we were all in the meeting, but child poverty is very big throughout the United States, and there's a lot of our children that don't even eat on a daily basis. Are you guys negotiating with the lunch people? Because that's something
that was brought up in the meeting.
They were working without a contract.
Yes.
But besides their contract, I want to know if you guys are working with them, because the children are the one that end up suffering at the end of the day if they don't have a contract. The food doesn't get it. You know, so is that negotiation going on? And are we taking care of our kids, making sure that they eat on a daily basis?
So yes, so we do serve breakfast, lunch, and then some of our schools offer dinner.
Wow.
Yes, and we are in the midst of negotiations with our food services program. And then we're also assessing. We have people going and auditing our food services, because when I talk to children all the time, they always say, oh, we don't like the food. And so I have a team happening, actually they're going in this week to meet with students to hear what they want to eat, because if they don't eat the food...
You're surprised, right? Because we're talking about the food, but you know, one of our biggest communities, the Puerto Rican community, right? And we grew up in the Puerto Rico school system, and a lot of kids come here from the Puerto Rico school system. One of the things that we all talk about and how much we miss is the food, right? When we go to a public school in Puerto Rico, and we go to the lunchroom, you know, it's breakfast. scrambled eggs, ham. Yes, when we go to lunch, when we go to lunch in Puerto Rico, we're talking about, when you go to lunch in Puerto Rico, it's rice, beans, chicken. It's no pizza, no hamburgers. and so, but again, that's when we talk about cultural differences and shock. Imagine a kid who is in the school in Puerto Rico on Friday, then he starts school on Monday. The first thing he finds out is that, well, the food is not the same, right? You're not gonna get rice and beans and chicken and pork chops. I mean, we have that for lunch.
Oh wow!
It's a full on restaurant. When you go to a public school in Puerto Rico, it is a restaurant in the sense of pork chop, steak, rice, beans, mashed potatoes, gravy. I mean, for Thanksgiving, they give you turkey. I mean,
they get us hungry.
No, they cook.
I know. They literally cook. But again, it may seem simple, but when we're talking about a kid being able to start the day with a full stomach, I mean, every research I've read and heard of is very clear on the fact that a kid that doesn't have breakfast, doesn't have lunch, cannot pay attention, cannot learn, cannot,
adults too.
Yes, absolutely.
Trust us, we know.
We know. But again, little things that may seem little but has such a big impact. Making sure a kid eats breakfast, so when he goes to class, he's prepared, he's ready, mentally, physically ready, and so that's also important. Before you go, because we're running out of time, but security. School security, right? We have heard of all the different incidents where a kid brought a gun, or they're locking down a school because there's a threat, or we have seen so many, unfortunately, in our society, how so many of the kids getting shot on the streets or involved in crime are 15, 16, 17-year-olds. From the school system, right? I mean, this is a society problem. But from the school system, what is it that you're looking to do? What is it that you want to implement in order to provide a safe school for our kids, for our parents?
So we're looking at twofold, Victor, and thank you for that question. It's not just the physical safety. So when we think of making sure that we have the doors secured and the security officers or safety officers as well as police officers and such, but also creating social emotional safety. Because students need to feel safe in school. They need to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of agency, and understanding commitment to learning. And all that takes, we do that with hiring additional social worker support, as well as counselors, and as well as working collaboratively with our collective community. Because students end up doing some of the things that are unsafe, or people in general, because it's deeper than what you see.
Yeah,
it's about
absolutely.
what's happening
Around
internally,
them, in their home,
right? Yeah, in their environment,
their neighborhood.
So we're looking to partner mass scale with our collective community to develop what we call a whole child framework, where we're looking at the approaches in which how we support not just the academic part of the child, but the social emotional aspect of the child as well, what we call their affective developmental skill sets, where you feel good about yourself, you feel valued, you feel committed to learning. And so we're going to, again, convene a group of community leaders, so everyone who's listening, and really develop what is the Allentown way to supporting young people with their social emotional wellness, as well as the teachers and all the adults and trust in their care. Because right now in this country, as we know, we went through a lot. We went through a few pandemics in this country, and adults are wrestling with lots of issues and feeling like they don't have a sense of belonging and unhappiness. So we're also working in partnership with those groups and internally, and we will externally, to create a holistic approach to supporting individuals within our organization.
Before you leave, I have a question for you. The school board has raised taxes 5 years in a row, saying that they don't have enough money. Would you audit your whole department before you ask, or before the board asks for a raise, saying that you guys don't have enough money? Because it doesn't make sense how much money is going into your department. Where's it getting wasted? Because it's not being useful right now. Where's it getting wasted?
Is that part of the plan?
Can we get an audit before you guys ask for more money again? Because you're hurting our city.
The community,
That's what you're doing. That's what the board is doing, not you particularly.
So to put it in context, for the last 5 years, the Allentown school districts have raised our taxes. Even though during the pandemic they got millions of dollars from the federal government. And so again, now you're running the school. So as the school superintendent, what are you going to look for? What are you going to do to make sure that we are getting our money's worth, right? And hopefully try not to get
Because the last time they raised it, it was the school board.
Yeah.
But the superintendent is the one that carried the burden, right, of
Yes.
what happened.
Yes.
Because he wanted something.
Yeah.
And we all said, why don't you audit and see where are you spending money that is being spent unnecessarily?
Yeah.
So good, you teed me up. So
Yeah.
one, we are not proposing a tax increase this year.
Okay.
So for the record, and I've said that in public.
Well,
you.
Well,
You.
we're not proposing. We're not opposing. So, okay, sorry to say that.
Yeah.
As well as we have the Pennsylvania Association of School Boards organization. They're coming in actually. On Wednesday.
Good.
And they're going to audit our financial functions. Not
Good.
We're not doing a fiscal audit.
Yeah.
Be clear
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But we're looking at how do we create greater efficiencies within our organization.
Correct.
And we found some thus far that we were not, for example, we don't use procurement cards at scale in the district, like a credit card. People would have petty cash on hand. We're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to issue a procurement process in which we also will get some savings back of being a part
Absolutely.
of this process.
Absolutely.
We're looking at how we operate our transportation system and see if there's some savings that we can get back there. And rebates. People ask us write us a tax later so we can get a tax rebate. These corporations, we're like, we're only writing a letter if you give us some of the money that you're getting back.
Yeah.
And so right now just in the past 4 months, we're about at approximately $1 million in savings.
Good.
Just doing that.
Nice.
So, and we're going to drill down because I agree with you. We need to work more efficiently. And I want to say this so everyone's listening. When I said we're going to reimagine the organization, we have to. We have a lot of people in certain areas that we don't need, that we can move over. I'm not saying we're going to get rid of jobs, but we're
Correct.
going to repurpose people
Yes.
to do other things because in certain areas in our organization, we don't have enough people.
And where we may
Yes.
be duplicating, right?
Yes, yes.
Where one person, two person may be doing the same thing when it
Exactly.
could be get done by one.
Right.
I'm going to leave you with this because this is an example that I always use on the radio and everywhere I go. So a couple of years ago, I went to the Allentown Halloween parade, I think it was, or the holiday
That
parade.
was a lot of fun.
Yes. So I was on the stage emceeing the event, right? And I see the Parkland High School band, and they come down the street, and they look like any college, right? They are, spotless. Their instrument, their outfit, their clothing. It could have looked like the Macy's parade. And then right behind them were the kids from the Allentown School District. They had a sweater on, a hoodie on, and that was it. And yes, and he got me. He got me because number one, I felt for those kids. I can only imagine how those kids feel when they see their peers. It's a high school, just like theirs, and look at them, brand new instruments and uniforms. Because with that comes pride.
Sure, absolutely.
And then you're looking at that school, which is literally 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away from any given point in Allentown, and all they had was a hoodie on.
You're right.
Quiero decir también que un llamado a los padres que se involucren
Oh, yes.
en la educación de sus hijos
We do that all the
porque,
time, yes.
porque no es solamente el distrito y
Yeah.
yo sé que hay padres que tienen que trabajar
Yes.
a veces el día entero, la noche entera, pero si no pueden ser ellos que manden un tío, una
Yeah,
tía,
yeah,
un vecino,
representante.
alguien.
We
Y
are
que-
constantly telling
Eso
parents.
es muy importante.
Yeah, we are constantly telling parents that they have to participate.
Yes.
They have to go to the
Yes.
school board
And to be
meetings.
involved.
Yes,
They
please.
have
I want you to be involved.
So
El
that-
jueves hay
yes.
meetings.
So we constantly do that, understanding, just like you said, right, that in the world that we live in and
Yep.
the economy that we're in, then both parents are working and most of them, one has 2 jobs, and so we understand all those things. But those who can should, right?
Yes.
But again, that was an opportunity where he was right on my face.
Sure, sure.
I couldn't look away, right? It hits me right on my nose. Look at again, I'm not criticizing or saying anything bad about the Parkland School District. Great, amen. Good that they're doing it. But it was just right behind them.
And that's why we're going to put arts back in the schools.
You know.
We
Oh,
did
that's
away at the
awesome.
elementary level.
Yeah.
Our students receive art, music, and
Yes.
arts
Yes.
every 8 days.
Yes.
And so we're going to, again, back to repurposing people.
Yes.
We need to be able to get more arts and music so we build our program later and we show that we value that.
Yes.
Many kids need that to be successful.
Yes. And again, that's just an example. But then
Yes.
we go about other school districts around here having iPads and laptops and, you know,
Yes.
having heater in their school, right? Or having an air conditioner in the summer.
Yes.
You weren't here last summer. We were here, not summer, but towards the end of the year and the beginning, September, when it's still hot. And how many parents were calling us saying, you know, my kid's class doesn't have an air conditioning, right? It's 90 degrees, 80 degrees outside, and the air conditioning is not working, and the windows didn't open, and those type of things. So
That's why we're going to use our ESSERS funds. To
yes, and
HVAC system
so
in, so yes.
I know it's a lot. I know you have a lot in your plate, and I know you're not gonna wave a magic wand and gonna fix it, you know, in a
Overnight.
week, in a month, not even in a year. I get that.
Thank you, Victor. Tell everyone that. It's like a phased approach
No,
to
it's
do
a
this.
process.
Yes, yes.
I know we know it's a process, but as long as we see progress, as long as we see change, right? As long as within 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, we see that things are going the right direction, that gives us hope. That let us know, okay, all right, good. It's not as fast as we would like, but it's happening. Those things are very, very important. And again,
Yes.
you have a meeting you want to.
Oh, yes, and I just want to make sure that I share this. You know, as part of my learning and listening, I'm going to have meetings with community forums throughout the community, and particularly in the Latino community. And I really want to hear the voices of the Latino community and how I can best serve them. So if there's somewhere
Listen,
that you would like to,
absolutely.
I'm
Anytime you
open.
have meetings, every
Yes.
time, please tell your staff we are here. Use
Yes.
us.
Yes, okay.
Utilize us.
Yes.
If you want to, you know, we share. We talked about your survey about school uniforms.
Yes, okay.
We put that on our Facebook. We put that on our
Excellent, and
website.
thank you
we
for
told,
that. Yes, we got a
told-
good response rate, so thank you.
Good, right? So, and I was going to ask you real quick about that. You know, where are we with the uniforms?
yes.
What are we doing? Because that's another thing that we Latinos are used to and accustomed, right? In Dominican Republic, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, all of our schools, we grew up all using uniforms. And we talked about it all the time. I could see a kid going down the street in my town in Puerto Rico, and I knew what school that kid was from by just look. Blue shirt, oh, he's from that school. You know, burgundy shirt, oh, he's from that school. So for us, it's the norm. For us, we think it's safe and important, and so on and so forth. But I know you guys were doing a survey for school uniforms. So real quick, where are we with that?
So we received, thank you very much, because we received overwhelming response
Good.
to our survey. And for the most part, parents want to continue to wear the uniforms.
Yes, absolutely.
We were surprised because we were hearing that, people don't want to wear uniforms. Students don't want to wear
The
uniforms.
kids don't want the uniform.
yes,
I get it.
yes.
The kids don't want the uniform.
Yes, yes.
But I think it's a safety thing, right? Not only are we able to identify where the kid is from, but within the school, right? Somebody walks in and they don't have the uniform. We right away know that person is not from here. Or so if we see a kid from another school walking through the hallways of this school, we know that kid doesn't belong here as well.
And with all the pressures kids are going through nowadays.
And finally, yes, like he was saying, money-wise, right? It's not the same thing as a parent to buy, 3 pair of jeans, 2 pair of jeans, and 3 shirts, and then rewash them, than having to compete.
Yeah.
Right? Because kids are kids, and they like to show off, and that's what we do, especially with social media. And you don't want to be the parent sending the kid with a old wrinkled, old ripped off shirt or fade out shirt if they're all wearing the same thing. Right? So you guys are in the process of making a final decision on that?
Yes, we are. We have to present the findings to the school board of directors.
Okay.
And so we will in a public meeting.
Awesome.
The findings. So yes, but parents overwhelmingly said they wanted.
That's great.
Okay.
to
All right.
uniforms.
That's good. No, that's good.
That's
Yes,
great.
yes,
That's
yes.
great.
All right, well, señoras y señores, tenemos a nuestra nueva miembro de la Junta Escolar con nosotros, la doctora Evelyn Santana. En mayo ella va a correr oficialmente por primera vez para su posición. Vamos a apoyarla y vamos a invitarla
Gracias.
para que venga nuevamente.
Yes.
Dr. Briggs, thank you.
Thank you.
And the
Thank you,
door is
Victor.
open. We are here.
Burks,
Please,
Dr. Burks.
Dr. Burks.
Dr. Burks.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes, thank you.
sorry. Use us.
Yes,
We're
yes, thank you. I
here.
will.
You
We're
can
here.
pimp us out. You can
Yes.
pimp us out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm going to say, where are my people?
No, absolutely, absolutely. We are here. Our doors are
Yes,
open
please.
Thank you.
to notify parents, and oh my God, you have no idea how much we constantly are telling parents, you need to get involved, you need to go to
Yes.
the meeting, and not only with the school board, with everything,
Well,
right?
I'd like to come
City
to them. I want
council,
to say this,
you
Victor.
know.
I want to come to them, though. So
Yes.
it's not just about, because I understand that parents may not want to come into the school. So I would dare say, someone who's listening, if you have a place that you'd like for me to come and you can convene some people, I'll come.
Good. All right.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There you go. Bueno, pues señores, ahí está our first interview.
Yes.
I hope it's the first of many.
Yes. Thank you.
Con la nueva superintendente del Distrito Escolar de Allentown y con la nueva miembro de la Junta Escolar. Thank you guys both.
Muchas
Thank you. Gracias.
Ahí está, señoras y señores. No se mueva nadie, este es Relajo de la Mañana. Buenos días.
Titi me preguntó si tengo muchas novias.
No me importa lo que de mí se diga. Vive